War Room, Gwinnett County, the people's voice, keeping you informed. War Room, Gwinnett County, the people's voice. Thank you for tuning in to War Room, Gwinnett County. I'm your host, Antonio Jones. We're back with another episode. We hope you guys had a Merry Christmas and are having a Happy New Year. Today, the show is pretty stacked up. Got a few important guests that are out here. Some already elected to office, already making an impact in the community. I encourage you guys to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, especially if this is your first time. We're crowdsourced. We need everybody to get involved, get engaged to help make this podcast a success. So 5 areas of focus that we try to focus on here in Gwinnett County, and we like to look at these things as the pillars of society to keep a sane and a stable community. One is going to be the city council. One is the county commission. We got the school board, sheriff's office, and the district attorney. Now, there are many other offices that are very important, but these are 5 that we are looking to focus on. And already going into 2024, there's so many things going on. The public has a lot of concerns, not just with the things that we see in our communities, but there are things that are happening throughout the country as well as the world that are having massive impacts on decisions that are being made here locally. So we try to utilize this platform to allow representatives and everyday people to come on here, have their questions answered, and also provide a good platform for candidates and people that are already serving in government to be able to communicate with the public, see what the concerns are, and also let people know what's going on and how we can together try and make a difference. So a few nights ago, I had the pleasure of going down to Lilburn, and they've elected and swore in the mayor there. He had served before, but what I noticed in the room was full, and it's hard to get people to come out to participate in their civic duty in order to get their voices heard, in order to make a change. But it seems like Lilburn is heading in a positive direction. The people are engaged. People seem to be excited to be there. So I want to bring in a guest, the mayor-elect, Johnny Crist. Welcome to the War Room. You might have to unmute your mic.
Hey, I'm no longer mayor-elect. I am now the mayor.
Oh, he is now the mayor. So I stand corrected.
Yeah.
So Johnny, you guys had a pretty much a full house the other night. I've been a part of a few different meetings, city commissions, planning and things like that. I mean, it's planning and development. And a lot of times we get a lot of complaints out of the citizens, but people don't show up to come out. So what's going on in Lilburn? People seem to be a bit excited right now.
Well, there are 2 things pressing on that attendance decision, and let me make a parallel between being the pastor of a church and being the mayor of a city. And as pastor, you want your congregation every Sunday, you want the attendance to increase. And that's a real honor to say, hey, we're a part of a growing situation here, a growing church. But in a city, you want the attendance to decrease. And so that was not quite an accurate representation on Monday night of what's going on. And that is, when you do a swearing in ceremony, everybody wants to come and be a part and take pictures and say, hey, I helped get this person elected. And that's so wonderful. But actually, when you begin to lead, you want to gain confidence of the people that you're leading And I noticed when I was mayor the first 8 years, when I first took office, everybody showed up with badges on, shirts, T-shirts that were the same color. They were very upset about the direction of the city. And so they had badges on, little stickers, and they literally said, "Save Lilburn." And they had no confidence in the leadership. But as I led for 8 years, our attendance kept dropping at our city council meetings. And I took that as a huge compliment that all the things we do with town hall meetings, staying in touch with people on a regular basis, that along the way, they said, I don't need to come and watch over. So whenever you get full packed houses in a city council meeting or in a education or in the commissioners meeting, usually people are upset and don't trust. And so I am looking for the next 4 years to have our attendance at city council meetings go down as we lift up the level of confidence that people have in our city government.
Very, very well put. So, why did you decide to run again this term?
Yeah, everybody has a sense of what you're best at, what you're good at, where your gifts are, what satisfies you, what you get affirmation for. And I was mayor of the city of Lilburn for 8 years, thoroughly enjoying it. There wasn't anything I didn't like about it. I liked reading books to second graders. I liked groundbreakings. I liked dedications. I liked city council meetings. Most things what I really liked is setting a vision and giving a course for the city. But along the way, I was tapped on the shoulder by the state government, and they said, "Would you consider running for a state house representation?" And after considering that offer, I said, maybe that is the next step for me. So I ran to be a part of the state house as a House of Representatives member in the legislature, and was not successful in that endeavor. Then people said to me, "Would you come back and be the mayor?" And I was like only too honored that people felt that for 8 years they were satisfied with my leadership. They felt it was beneficial for the city. Some rather important people in our city said, "We would love you to come back." And so I launched a campaign last year to regain the seat, and I prevailed. And so it is just such an honor to be 4 years, a term in the city government's 4 years for the city of Lilburn. And so to be invited back is just an honor that's beyond my imagination. And I'm so thrilled. This is Saturday. I've got to get through Sunday. Then Monday, I can get back in the saddle at the city hall and help move the city forward with a strategic plan.
Right. So, what are some of the concerns you heard on the campaign? Because I noticed you guys did some things, put forth a moratorium on the last, your first meeting that you all had. So what are some of the concerns, and how does that tie in to the 90-day moratorium that I believe you guys unanimously, after going back and forth and having a work session, you guys unanimously decided on?
There are 16 cities in Gwinnett, maybe soon to be 17. There's a new city in the planning stages at the State House as we speak. And all these cities are railroad towns, and they're historic. And our city was built in 1910, ratified with bylaws in 1910. And we've been a little community that has a very quaint downtown. And so we have a once in a lifetime opportunity to be able to define what it looks like and how buildings encroach upon the authenticity. I think I'm one of the few people that went to Williamsburg on their wedding honeymoon. And so I've always liked older communities, and I want to preserve it. And so during my first 8 years, I was tasked with the responsibility of bringing some economic development to our city. Everybody's been saying, we want restaurants. Starbucks left us. Outback left us. And so I went to these companies and I said, what would it take for you to get back here? And they said, Mayor, we want rooftops with people with expendable income. So we brought in three big building projects, one 55 units of townhomes. We brought in a 55 and older community, and then we built 100 more townhomes. So we had some economic development going. And then the good news and bad news. The good news is that developers found Lilburn. The bad news is developers found Lilburn. And so suddenly we have a crush of developers wanting to come in and just put up more townhomes. And the people were saying, no, time out. Way too much, too fast. There was in the previous administration a application for 280 apartments that was passed, and that is in the works. And so you put that in the downtown area and all the development. I said, should I be elected, I'm going to put a moratorium on all building until we develop a plan. And the plan has to include how many single family houses do we want? How many apartments do we want? How many townhomes and condos? What's the ratio here? We can't just keep putting townhomes. And then in addition, I want everything that's built to conform to our historic downtown. Somebody said you only have a very small building, historic buildings. And I say, we're going to build them just like it would look at the turn of the century. We built a brand new City Hall library, and that is just a wonderful architectural style of looking like an old schoolhouse. We built a new police station, and we again engaged in the style of historicity. But when builders come in here, they've got to engage with us, not just put up what they want. So we're developing rooftops, brick colors, architectural style, so that this is retaining its historic essence of what it means to be a part of downtown Lilburn. We'll have density everywhere, but I'm not sure that I'm convinced that we don't want all this density right downtown.
Right. So with this particular consulting group that you're having coming in to assist you all with the outlook for this,
yeah.
Will they? What type of models will they be providing you all with, so you can factor it in, I guess, moving forward with planning and different development ideas?
The state legislature says you cannot just city councils, mayors cannot put a moratorium on building just to stop building. You have to have a goal in mind. And the goal for us is we need a plan. We need architectural and historic and percentages of what kind of things are going to be where. So, or where they're going to be constructed. So we hired a company that's a group that specializes in development of downtowns. And so we had our first meeting this past week, got sworn in on Monday. By Wednesday, I had my first meeting with our downtown development company. This week, we go on a tour of downtown. We're going to look at each part of our city and analyze it and say, what do we like? What is the next step for? And then our goal is to get a booklet that we can put online that anybody that's wanting to build in the city of Lilburn can look at the styles and say, I've got to conform to that. How will my renderings, the plans that I submit to City Hall, how are they going to incorporate these architectural features that will be very clearly spelled out in our study? So we've got 60 days. Wait a minute, 36. We have 90-day moratorium. We're going to be working pretty hard with this company to look at what does 1910, when this city was founded, what would it have looked like? You know, obviously we had a big fire here that was destroyed a lot of our buildings. We had just aging buildings that were made of wood, and they came down. So if you ever come to Lilburn, we have one side of the city that's all brick. The other side was all wood, and it's all gone. So we're going to develop renderings for what that's going to look like as we move forward. And then hold builders responsible to say, unless you build to look like that, we're not going to pass your application.
Sounds great. I can tell you, when I was just at the meeting the other night, just observing, and I spoke to a few people afterward, it was a somewhat bit of a sigh of relief, because in the general consensus, as we've spoken to people throughout the county, just at gas stations, just everyday people at grocery stores, everyone has a concern about how much building is happening right now. Will our schools and infrastructure hold up? So for you all to, kind of game this out like you're doing to try to move forward responsibly, I can tell you right away that the people there were satisfied with this first decision that you all have made. And hey, maybe this will serve as a blueprint. I know other cities have their game plan and and all of that, but I wonder what the model will look like in some of the other cities who may not have considered other things like the school system. And maybe we'll have you back on to just say a few words about how that potentially impacts the value of a city over time, the school system, how kids are performing, the behaviors and everything like that. I know the county pretty much runs the school system, but these schools are within our city areas, so they have an effect. They have an effect on taxes and property values and economic development and growth and all of those things.
Well,
So
look at it, you have to ask the question, why do people move to Gwinnett County? What is it about Gwinnett that makes people want to live here? And the bottom line is, for all of us, it was the school system. We've been the #1 school system in the nation, not just in Georgia, but in the nation. And Gwinnett County received the Broad Prize 2 years in a row. And we have 187. Well, now I think it's dropped a bit. We have 184,000 students in our school system, and everybody wants to be a part of the next generation's success. And so schools are extraordinarily important. So this week we have a meeting with our school board. A school board is not allowed to deny any student access to the schools. So we have to say, when are we going to put too many kids in our school, and what happens? And they have 3 decisions to make. First one is to bring in trailers and if you keep building, and we have on May of 2023, Gwinnett County passed the 1 million person mark in our county, and it's only going up from there. And so with everybody that moves in, we bring students along, and so we want to educate them, and that places a huge consideration. Where are we going to house all these people? And how are we going to educate all these kids or these students? So we either put trailers out, or secondly, so we're having a meeting to find out how many students, what's the future. We want to work with the educational department, not against them. So it is very true that people want to be out here, because Parkview has been the #1 school system in Georgia for quite a long time. But I'm grateful to say other schools are getting more competitive. And so I see the movement. And so we're just going to be, during our moratorium, we're going to be working with the county to say, how would you like us to move forward with the number of buildings? We want to put buildings where people can get around. So we don't want to make traffic snarls. And so we want to define where we would put density and define where we would put single family housing, and to work together with the infrastructure and our school system and our city's residents to make us all happy campers. It's a real task, a real challenge.
So, Mayor, is this just a meeting between Lilburn
Yes.
and the county, or
No, just
just you guys?
No, we've just invited some of the people on not even the school board. I'm sorry. We invited the school administrative team.
School
We're just going
administrative.
to have a meeting like we would this week. We had a meeting with the transportation department up in Gwinnett to say, what does mobility look like in Gwinnett? How are we going to get these commuters. There's a whole new plan for a moratorium, or excuse me, for a referendum for the transportation splosh that probably might likely be on the ballot this fall. And so we're working through how to work with transportation, how to work with education, and how to work with a city that feels overwhelmed with the number of people. And this problem isn't going away. You know, there are plenty of more people that want to live in Georgia, live in Gwinnett, and here we are.
Yeah. So, so Mayor, let me ask this. Sounds like to be a part of you guys' agenda, and what it sounds like to me is you guys are in Lilburn, city of Lilburn, are laying the groundwork for maybe some other cities can follow suit. And I know every city has a mayor, they have a plan, you know, that they're going by. But what I'm hearing here sounds pretty detailed and well thought about, because government is supposed to function as a body. And it sounds like you all's plans and everything is looking at it exactly that way. You know, you've got the city, you've got the county that works together in tandem on some different things, and you have your police departments, and you have your sheriff's office, and there's so many parts, and the touch points. There are many touch points between each different body that intersects somewhere that has an effect on the outcome of having a good responsible community that's thriving and that is safe, that people want to continue to come to. So we commend you on what you've already started doing. It sounds very well thought out so far.
No, it's very kind. Out of these 16 cities in Gwinnett County, Lilburn's right in the middle. We have some very well-developed cities. Peachtree Corners, the leader of our cities. We have Swanee, an incredibly planned community. We have Duluth and Beaufort. They're way ahead. But for the cities that are smaller than ours, we have 16,000 in Gwinnett, or in Lilburn. And so there are smaller cities. We might help lead them. But these larger cities everybody's got to answer the question of density and building. No question about it. Where are people going to live? And if we can make any contribution, I'd be grateful, but I'm not looking for any stars to stand out. We're just personally, I want our city to thrive and be a wonderful place to live. There is, boom.
Yeah. Well,
if we have any influence on anybody else, but
yeah, well, greatness follows good leadership. You know, I'm a football guy. Everybody knows that. If you know, Nick Saban had a great career over at Alabama, and there are so many other people that have gotten careers off of the great leadership. And you know, leadership is very important. And humility, I was always taught, or the Bible teaches us that, first of all, that humility is the key to success. But all of my coaches drove that point home. Hey, if you see a guy and or another gal, they've got it figured out, it's working, you know, and this is said, any other public official, you don't have to be mayor, you know, be willing to make some phone calls, meet up, say, hey, this is working. Here's another city over here. They're doing a great job at, you know, maybe in their code enforcement area, you know, hook up with them, see what kind of ideas you can swap, you know, because the bottom line is success and to serve the people. And, you know, we wish Lilburn the best. I mean, I like the character of you know, personally, just in my personal capacity, the things that you all have built around the city hall and everything. It you know, it looks like it belongs there. It looks like it was thought about and everything like that. It doesn't look sore thumb. If the city, like you all are trying to plan to do, can continue to move in the character that it has, I think it'll probably be on its way to be very attractive. The downside of the builders nowadays too, and I know a few of them, everything is kind of starting to look alike. And we want things to grow responsibly, but it's like, you know, if you're building out a strip mall and somebody's coming to the city saying, hey, I want to get a permit to be in this building, which is like, well, wait a minute, we got a donut shop, in the building already. So why do we need to put, another one? So we've got to, as city municipalities, figure out a way of what's going to make us different as we grow.
That's what a city planner does. And oftentimes, and I'm not getting down on anybody, but oftentimes there isn't a plan. And a builder just builds whatever he wants to build, and people are just grateful. But whenever you build a building, we're going to have to look at it for the next 100 years. Buildings last about that long. And if we don't do it right, somebody's going to look back and say, were those people on drugs back in 2024 when they built Lilburn? What were they thinking? So we want to get this right. We only have one opportunity. And the moment you put a spade in the ground and start pouring cement, you're locked into that theme, that idea forever and ever. I took a course at Disney, and man, I didn't know there was a university at Disney, a leadership university. So I took a course there, and you can feel, why do you want to go to Disneyland or Disney World? What is it about that? You can start feeling it before you ever get there. You can feel it out on the freeway. You say, wow, this is well manicured. Wow, look at the grass is mowed. Look at everything is fresh and clean. And then our instructor said, how many people do you think we have cleaning up trash in Disney World? And all the hands went up. Hey, I think you have 500. I think you hire 700. I think maybe. And the answer is 12,500. And that is every cast member, and that's an employee of Disney, from the CEO to the person who is scraping up dung after the horse-drawn thing on Main Street. And incidentally, that's what I did when I worked for Disney out in California. Everybody picks up trash. And that's what makes Disney Disney. It is so well done, so well kept, that you want to go spend money and be in that environment. And my understanding is, why wouldn't we want to replicate that level of excellence? Why wouldn't we say this city is worth being a part of? Let's all take care of it. Let's create an environment that's so compelling that people want to say, hey, I want to just be a part of it. Why wouldn't we want to create an environment where a business would say, I want to develop it. I want to have a restaurant there. I want to get in on this wonderful. So that's what we're aiming to do. And it's not an easy task, but rather that's why we slowed the parade for 3 months, to say we're going to think through this city. And I look at Lilburn as a blank canvas, and we're going to plan a city that people want to clearly be a part of.
Sounds great. All hands on deck. Well, Mayor, we'll here at War Room, we appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
And we'll have to set up to have you come back on and give us updates after you do your walk around, and give us feedback on what the people are feeling like and thinking and everything. So how can people follow you, and what's the website to the city of Lilburn, so people can get on there and check it out?
Well, I would, cityoflilburn.com, and you can, on the search bar, you can just type in whatever you're interested in. In fact, there's a little tab on our website that says if you want regular updates on planning or meetings or park events, you just click it, and we will send that regular prompt to you. You don't have to keep coming back and say, what concert did we have in this summer? Who's the band? That will all be sent to you. So I want to fix our website, make it a little more friendly. It's very detailed. It's got everything there, but I found it sometimes difficult to get information, but we'll fix that as well along the way. And,
as a designer, I still do a little bit. It'll always be a work in progress.
Yeah,
so.
That's for sure. Good word.
All
good
right.
word. Okay, my friend. Good to see you.
Well, thank you, Mayor. And
total pleasure.
All right.
God bless you.
All right. So coming up next, you guys stay tuned. We're going to take a short break. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel. We've got sheriff candidate for Gwinnett County, Joe Mark, coming up. And we also have county commission candidate, Tim Lee. He'll be coming up as well. But hang on for this short break.
Accelerate your business goals and brand presence on the World Wide Web by logging on to safewayhost.store to purchase domain names, web hosting, email hosting, SSL, and more. We have 24/7 customer service and support available to our clients. Get started today so you can achieve your business goals by increasing your web presence. Log on to safewayhost.store today. That's safewayhost.store.
War Room, Gwinnett County, the people's voice, keeping you informed. War Room, Gwinnett County, the people's voice.
All right, guys, we're back. If you missed it, we had Mayor Johnny Crist on. He's serving another term out in Lilburn, and they've got some good things going on over there. They're laying some groundwork that are important to the people. They had a full house, but like he said, and I'm still learning a few things as well as we go. The less people you have over time is good because the people have less complaints. Make sure you if it's your first time tuning in to War Room, make sure you share these videos, like, share, and subscribe. We are crowdsourced by We the People. If you have anything or any suggestions, you can send them to the inbox. If you have news clips, things we may have missed, how can we improve the show? We need to hear all of that because we want to use this as the tool, as the bullhorn for action to get behind good candidates and also make a platform for your voices to be heard. This platform is not just for candidates. It is also for everyday citizens. If you feel like you want to come on War Room, air out your grievances, share with people what some of your experiences may be, you can feel free to do that anytime. Shoot us an inbox. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. All right, so people have been, let me run this back. We got a sheriff in office right now who a number of people in the public have not been satisfied with the way he's running things, in the jail, everything like this. And this is just from person after person after person after person. And we just been hearing thing after thing after thing after thing about Sheriff Taylor. But we've got a couple of candidates, and one of those is Joe Mark for sheriff. Joe, what we wanted to bring you back on. You've been on the show a few times. You gave the public a lot of valuable information about what's going on in the jail, what's not going on. And for people that are seeing you for the first time, can you give them a brief synopsis of who you are and why you decided to run for sheriff of Gwinnett County?
Absolutely. Hey, good afternoon, Antonio. Thank you so much for always having me on. I appreciate it. My name, for those of you who don't know, my name is Joseph Mark. I'm a lifelong resident of Gwinnett County. I heard the mayor earlier talking about Parkview. Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I went to Brookwood, so I'm a little biased from that from that standpoint. But I was on the football team, 8 quad A school. We did very, very well. I sat the bench most of the time, but I still got to enjoy the festivities. So anyways, as I've mentioned, I'm a lifelong resident of Gwinnett. And I got to be candid with you. I'm not pleased with how the county has developed since Sheriff Taylor's taken office. We've got a lot of issues. Most of them are stemming from personnel shortages, poor decision making, persons being put in position that they're not qualified for. It's just my coin phrase. It's a dumpster fire. This time it's just engulfed and it's floating very, very fast down the Chattahoochee, catching everything along the way on fire with it. So we have to do something about it. Crime's up. There are over 200 sworn deputies short. So think about that. You've got one deputy that is responsible for like 1 to 2, in some circumstances, 3 housing units. I mean, 300 to 1. Who wants those odds? So the amount of officer involved assaults is up. The amount of violence, inmate on inmate violence, is up. They've had more in custody deaths since he took office than Sheriff Conway had his entire 20 plus years of service. I mean, yet nobody wants to talk about these issues. So I'm very, very thankful for the opportunity to bring this stuff to light. And today, what I want to do is use my time to talk about, see, we're getting into the meat of it now, right? May 21st is the deadline for votes. So my primary for the Democratic Party is going to be in May the 21st. So that's going to dictate, what happens going forward for our entire county. So we really, really need to sit down and vet all of the candidates, myself included. And I talk about that a lot because I think it's important. I don't feel like Sheriff Taylor was vetted appropriately when he was being, and I'm just as guilty because I went out and politicked for him. Like, I campaigned for Sheriff Taylor. I voted for the man. So, that there's some liability on my end as well. So we need to vet everybody. We need to really vet and see who is about what. I have a diverse background. I have a law enforcement background. I have a military background, combat military background. I led soldiers in combat before I was 20. Well, I was over 23. So 23, 24. I mean,
so Joe, right quick before you get to your military background, I think previously you had mentioned the rate of pay. Can you share with the audience the average pay of the deputy that we went, and also talk about some of the positions that was created by Sheriff Taylor and how much money those positions make, so the audience has have an idea of what's going on here? So
when Sheriff Taylor took office, number one, like we talked about, the vacuum of leadership, there has been an exodus of deputies coming out of that facility. As a matter of fact, I saw a meme on the internet of Sheriff Taylor's face transposed over Thanos with the glove, and he says, the guy that made half of my department disappear. I mean, that couldn't be more true than, the sky's blue. The other thing that he did is he took and redirected several sworn deputy positions and gave those positions to project coordinators all over the jail. It's very, very difficult to get information out of that agency through open records, which, by the way, I'm going to point out, when I take over, if somebody wants an open record, call, email, do whatever, we'll give you what you want. I'm not going to charge you for it, because that's your right as a citizen to know what's going on. There's, like I said earlier, 1,000 times, there's nothing going on there that's so secretive that we have to wall ourselves off behind locked doors and security cameras and, do whatever. Anyway, so
how much of those your average deputy making as opposed to these created positions?
Yeah, so
I want people to hear that.
Yeah, they start out a little over $40,000 a year.
And how much is these created positions by him?
Well over 100,000.
Well over 100K.
Oh yeah. And not only do they get, but they got all the take-home cars. There's a shortage of vehicles at the sheriff's office. At my church, you see cars or deputies having to go to these part-time jobs to subsidize their income because they hardly make anything. And they're sitting there in their POV with a freaking Amazon blue light in the dashboard. I'm pretty sure, what is it, 46-6 OCGA, due regard? I'm pretty sure that says that's not allowed. Although I think on private property it is. I'll have to go back and read the code. But regardless, you should have a professional image, right? I believe when the county allocates money for a sworn officer or sworn deputy, that position also comes with a vehicle. So where are all the vehicles?
Right. So in your view, with all of the shenanigans, we'll label them as this has been going on, should should our county have been asking a few more questions about what's going on here? I mean, then the jail dogs program was ended.
It's done. Guardian program's done.
I saw on, by way of War Room, so many people talking about how tragic that was for these inmates to have something to look forward to as we're trying to get them to move in a different direction with their lives. Those pets was allowing them to have someone to be responsible for, during this time. It's very detrimental to end that off. And when we're talking about we're trying to prevent recidivism, well, we need to do things that support that idea,
I'm so glad you brought that up, because I want to talk about recidivism today and why it's so important, right? So right now, when someone is released from jail and they'll give them their stuff out of the property bag. It's that, airtight bag of all their property, and you'll see them doing the walk out. They're just thrown to the wolves, right? So it's no wonder that the recidivism rate is so high, because there's very little to no support on the jail standpoint once these individuals are released. What do you think is going to happen? It's 30 degrees outside at night. You let somebody out at 2:00 in the morning. They've got nowhere to go. What do you think they're going to do? They're going to either loiter at the QT. You can't do it at the racetrack anymore because they locked the doors. There's nowhere for these people to be. I'm telling you that in addition to Chief Deputy Walsh, my team, I'm developing my team, and I'm so thankful, because I have in addition to over 100 sworn officers and deputies that have promised, they have agreed to come to work on day one. Over 100 sworn. I have an officer that works for a police department. He used to work here in Georgia, and because there's no money and it's difficult to do their job in this area, he left for another agency in Colorado. He told me that he will come back. He's a perfect example. He's going to come back. His post-service record is impeccable. He's a veteran officer, very well respected in his agency and his new agency, and he's one of 100 that said they're going to come back. Now, I want to talk to you about the gentleman that is on my team for recidivism. His name is Jacob Baird, and I'm very, very pleased to have him on my team. He comes with a very, very impressive history. Jacob started off at the GRIP program in 2012. He was the guy that developed that program. Well, one of them. It developed it, and from 2012 to 2020, he ran that thing.
And so what was the program about? Just briefly.
It was the GRIP program is to help reentry into civilization,
transition back into society. Okay,
correct. It was a fantastic program. Deputy Cooley was part of that. There was all the men and women. There's so many talented individuals over at the sheriff's office. I mean, these people, they go in every single day in the most horrible work circumstances you could possibly imagine. And they grin and bear it. They grin. So I got to tell you, the citizen employees and the sworn deputies, I have the utmost respect for those men and women. They are incredible, incredible people that are doing a terribly tough job under horrible circumstances. Right. So I really want to give them the encouragement that they need. That help is coming. So Jake's going to come back. Well, they can't come back. He works for a private company, but he's advising me now and putting the program together. Under his leadership for the reentry services program, he had a 50% reduction for individuals who opted to participate in the program. So from 62 for the general population to 30% for GRIP participants. Taxpayer savings, let's talk about the taxpayer savings of $80 million over his tenure there from 2012 to.
So the work he put in to be instrumental in making sure that people didn't end up back in the system,
right?
Ruining their lives further, first of all, and costing the taxpayers more money. Yep. Over time, he saved the county $80 million.
As a matter of fact, in 2019, Sheriff Conway returned $2 million to the general fund, and in 2020, he returned $8 million. And that is because of Jacob Baird and Chief Deputy Bill Walsh. Chief Deputy Walsh is the guy that wrote that budget and balanced it. He has agreed to come on as my chief deputy to run this organization the way it's supposed to be, to put the right men and women in these places that are qualified to do that job. I'm not handing out positions. I'm thankful for all my supporters, but everybody knows across the board, nobody's getting a free ride. That includes myself all the way down. When 2021, when Sheriff Taylor took office, right? At the time, Sergeant Baird, he delivered all of his research, talked about everything, and how he wanted to continue to grow that. And in April of 2021, from what I'm told, basically no reason whatsoever, Sergeant Baird was reassigned to the jail and night shift. So he was completely removed from his program. And you can see the track record and the pattern. So 2021, and now all of a sudden GRIP's gone, the dog program's gone, the vegetable garden program is, either on its last leg or out the door. So you can see the writings on the wall. Since 2021, let me give you some facts here. Inmate deaths and the use of force reports have skyrocketed. Staffing levels and the morale of the jail is down substantially. It's down to a very dangerous level. In the military, we have a phrase that's like, how combat effective are you? Are you combat ineffective? Meaning, how many men and women do you have on the job, right? People's due process rights are, in my opinion, being violated. I've talked to a handful of defense attorneys over at the courthouse, and I hear complaint after complaint after complaint of I can't get in touch with my client. I can't visit my client. We've missed our court date because there's no deputies to work the courts. There's no deputies in transportation. They are robbing Peter to pay Paul, and it's dangerous. It's to the point now where I don't even want to say it, the safety of the officers and the deputies, because there's been a tremendous amount of violent attacks on these men and women. One deputy had hot scalding water thrown on them. One deputy had their head banged into the freaking detention cell. I mean, this is incredible. The sheriff's office budget has increased, I don't know, 40 million. 45 million. It's supposed to increase again in 2024 this year. I'll get the facts. I'll do the research and find out for sure. But this is just, it's unbelievable. But what I can tell you is that under my administration, we are going to bring in professional men and women that own businesses. We're going to let people back into this jail, right? Right now it's walled off. No attorneys. It's difficult for attorneys to see. The preachers and the clergy aren't allowed to see. The family members can't visit them. Yeah, they've got the iPads, but I'm being told that the service is spotty. That's a huge building, by the way, concrete and metal. And you can imagine cell service is not very good at all. And that's the only way for these individuals to communicate with their attorneys and their loved ones. We need to do stuff. We need to stop talking about recidivism and actually do something about it, because it has such a huge impact in our crime rate. If we really reallocate resources appropriately and responsibly to this program, I guarantee you, in my first term, we will see a dramatic reduction in the amount of recidivism that we've got and the population of our jail. That is stuffed to the brim. Not to mention, what do we have? Almost 400 that were shipped down to Irwin, which is a for-profit jail, by the way. If your listeners have time, Google Irwin County Detention Center, and you look at what's happened to that facility in the past. And you tell me if you guys think that it was smart to spend 18 million, 15 million, however many millions of dollars that was sent down there to send those people down there. You've got co-defendants talking to each other. It's just, yeah. I can go on and on and on. It is just, it's egregious. So
Joe, we want to play we want to give the people a chance to see your spot. We got it teed up, and then we'll have you come back right after that. Let the people know how to follow you, and we'll have you back on again to talk about.
Yeah, I can bring Jacob on maybe one time. Yeah. We can get into the minutia.
Absolutely. So we're gonna go ahead and run that right quick so people can hear your see your spot that you've just created.
We deserve a sheriff who'll do what's right, even behind closed doors. Joseph Mark. Joe has more than 25 years of military, law enforcement, and private sector experience. He's a lifelong resident of Gwinnett County, and he's ready to restore trust of law enforcement and the citizens. Nobody is more committed to keeping our community safe. It's time for a sheriff who puts our safety first, not himself. Joseph Mark.
So that was Joseph Mark for Gwinnett County Sheriff. Joe, that was an incredible spot. Give people a little bit of a quick synopsis on the insight of who you are. That came out look pretty good.
Thank you.
So can you tell the people how to follow you
yes,
on social
absolutely.
media and how to contribute to your campaign and everything like that?
Absolutely. Please, if you can. My website is in as many languages as we can think of. And if you look at it and it's not in your language, please reach out to me and we'll put your language on there at www.joemarkforsheriff.com. Be advised that you can make anonymous contributions legally for $200 and under. So if there is an instance where somebody wants to remain confident, oh man, I can't talk.
Confidential.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Anonymous.
You can do so at that. I very much need your support. If you agree with what I'm going to do and you want to hold me accountable, by all means, please get online and contribute in any way you can. Financially, if you want to go out and stomp or politic for me, put your sign in the yard. We are ramping up now, and I want to make sure the logistics are put in place, to make sure that people get the signs that they're supposed to and so forth.
So once the people make the decision, if they decide to elect you to be sheriff, you'll come back and frequent the war room and make us one of your top press release and updates. Yeah,
I want people to see what we do. I want you to ride around with my deputies. I want you to go, and that goes for anybody, any news reporter, blogger, whatever. I want people to see what we do. And I want people to see, when I get sworn in at midnight on January 1st, 2025, I want as many cameras in that facility because I want people to see exactly what the heck has been going on in that facility and how status of disrepair it is.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that sounds good. That's Joe Mark for Sheriff. Joe, thank you for hanging out with us as always. We'll have to set up a time and get you back on here so we can keep the people updated. Also, if you're watching right now, Joe is extremely good at responding to the comments. So if you have questions that we didn't answer or that he didn't go over today, all you have to do is put them down in the comments on this video, and he always is highly responsive. Joe, thanks again, man.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you.
All right. So make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel if this is your first time. Next we got coming up Commissioner Tim Lee. So make sure you keep it locked right here, and we'll be back in a few minutes.
Accelerate your business goals and brand presence on the World Wide Web by logging on to SafewayHost.store to purchase domain names, web hosting, email hosting, SSL, and more. We have 24/7 customer service and support available to our clients. Get started today so you can achieve your business goals by increasing your web presence. Log on to SafewayHost.store today. That's SafewayHost.store.
War Room, Gwinnett County, the people's voice, keeping you informed. War Room, Gwinnett County, the people's voice.
All right, guys, we're back. Real quick, before we have Tim Lee come on, there's a lot of things going on here in Gwinnett County. People are not satisfied with what's happening with our school system. I believe the graduation rate is down, and disciplinary issues that we've had obviously is going to affect the outcome and the progress of how well students are doing. We stand behind all of our teachers, the teachers that want to be there and do the right thing. We're not putting them in the hot seat or throwing them up underneath the bus. A lot of times we've heard that they don't have enough authority to be able to correct their students. But right now we've got a commissioner coming up that's running for Gwinnett County Commission, and it's not directly, well, it is directly connected to what could be potentially happening in the school, but the commission sets the tone for so many things that are happening in the county. So, Tim Lee, welcome to the War Room. So, Tim, I've seen you out around campaigning, trying to let people know who you are, and so as your first time on War Room, I wanted you to let people know what your main goals and objectives are if and when elected to the seat, and why you decided to run for Gwinnett County Commission.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you, Antonio, and then also the listeners, to allow me to be on this platform, the War Room Gwinnett County. I appreciate that. And before I share with you my vision for the county, I would like to share a little bit about my background and how I came about to making my decision to run for board commissioner of Gwinnett County. So my journey began in Vietnam at the age of 10, when my parents sent my sister and me on a perilous journey to escape communist Vietnam. So the journey took us through refugee camps in Thailand and Indonesia, lasting about 10 months before we finally arrived in the United States in 1982. I had the privilege of reuniting with my parents and my other sisters in 1989, marking a significant chapter in my life at the age of 17. I pursued a mechanical engineering degree at the California Polytechnic University of Pomona, and which leads to the groundwork for a career in the 2004. My family and I made a decision to call Georgia, especially Gwinnett County, our home. And I venture into the realm of commercial and residential real estate investments and business developments. I dedicated my service to the Gateway 85 CID. It's a private-public partnership, and I served as the VP of the Vietnamese American Community of Georgia for 4 years. And currently, I hold position in various other boards, including the Georgia Department of Community Affairs boards, the Gwinnett Chamber Board, and the Vietnamese American Chamber Board. And also, I'm serving as the chairman of the Peachtree Corners Downtown Development Authority. So my decision to run for Gwinnett County Commission is deeply rooted in my decade of experience as a business owner and my active involvement in multiple boards and positions and in nonprofit organizations. I firmly believe that my diverse background, unique positions me as an ideal candidate to serve as the resident of Gwinnett County, and especially those that are in District Number 1. If elected, I pledge to prioritize public safety, reduce property tax, and champion small businesses. I emphasize the need to strengthen the relationship between law enforcement agencies and minority communities, and foster a budgetary balance, especially, after this massive increase to a $2.53 billion county budget that was passed recently. and then also to make home ownership affordable to our residents. I would advocate for business-friendly policies to navigate the challenges posed by the economic downturns that we're seeing currently. I look forward to the opportunity to serve Gwinnett County and District 1 with passion, dedication, and commitment to a positive change. Again, thank you very much for the platform that you provided. I appreciate what you do, and I would love to have some questions from you.
Right. Okay. So I have a question. I'm not aware if I don't know if you have saw this internal email that was sent out by John Hopkins, and it has to do with DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, and I'll go through a list really quick, but you can find this online.
Yes.
So they inside of this email, and I'll read through in case some of the viewers haven't seen it. Maybe I'll do a screen real so they can see. So this lady, that's the diversity officer, I guess. She sent out this letter starting out with Happy New Year. Let me just read through it real quick. From the Chief Diversity Officer's Corner. It says, Happy New Year. Welcome to the January 2024 issue of the monthly Diversity Digest. We're excited to kick off this month with 2 events in the celebration of Martin Luther King Jr. We look forward to the 42nd annual MLK commemoration on January 12th. This year, we will be in a new location, the Chevy Chase Building Auditorium on the East Baltimore campus, and the theme will be, where do we go from here? Chaos or community? Noted engineer and physician Mae Jemison will be the keynote speaker. Jemison will share her career path and her experience as the first woman of color to travel in space. And they have a link where you can view the event online. Monday, January 15th is 2024 MLK Day of Service, and participants can choose from a number of volunteer opportunities that are available January 15th through the 31st. And they have a link that people can sign up. We look forward to working with you this year in the spirit of Dr. King and others to achieve our equity and inclusion goals. Okay, so it goes on to say, diversity word of the month is privilege. Privilege is a set of unearned benefits given to people who are in a specific social group. Privilege operates on personal, interpersonal, cultural, and institutional levels, and it provides advantages and favors to members of dominant groups at the expense of members of other groups. In the United States, privilege is granted to people who have membership in one or more of these social identity groups. Number 1, white people. Number 2, able-bodied people. Number 3, heterosexuals. Number 4, cisgender people. Number 5, males. Number 6, Christians. Number 7, middle or owning class people. I guess if you own something, own business or something, like I do. Middle-aged people, English-speaking people. And they go on to say privilege is characteristically invisible to people who have it. So I guess it's the boogeyman now. People in dominant groups often believe they have earned the privilege they enjoy, and that everyone could have access to these privileges only if they work to earn them. So I guess they're telling people you can't work hard and be successful. In fact, privileges are unearned and are granted to people in the dominant groups, I guess, that I just read off, whether they want those privileges or not, and regardless of their stated intent. How hopeless is that? So Tim, you came here from basically to escape communism, right?
Correct.
How familiar to you does something like that sound as it's related to communist ideas?
It is very, very socialist, very communist. I remember when I was, about 6, 7 years old. Basically everything that we created, we grew, we made, it belongs to the government. And, if you try to sell something, you got to sell it to the government. And then the government would buy it very, very inexpensively and then uh, divvy it up among the population. So it was very difficult. One time, my mom, she was trying to sell some sugar so that she can have an operation, and it got confiscated. So she couldn't. She lost, her bag of sugar. Plus, she couldn't get an operation done. So it was horrible. It creates an environment where people try to do things, in the black market, try to find loopholes, trying to do whatever it takes so that they can survive, they can fulfill their needs. I don't think, I love the free market ideas, the capitalism, because it incentivizes each and every one of us to be better, to be a productive citizen, a responsible citizen of this great country, so that we can keep this country the greatest country in the world. So absolutely, communism and what the idea of this specific director, equitable DEI director, is trying to do, it is really scaring me.
Right. And that was from John Hopkins. It's like, imagine, and I know I'm kind of going off course, but this is all related to leadership.
Yes.
Because leadership is the head of something. So if we promote these ideas in our different chambers, on our different commissions, it's like, what are we actually saying? If we was to say that and read that to a child just now, it's like what it's basically said was, you're automatically, I'm automatically, and you're Mr. Lee, is automatically disadvantaged if we're not in one of those groups, right? So that gives no hope for a kid, and it also convicts somebody else of something that they're not even doing, and if we work hard, we can be successful. That's why we go to school. That's why we go to work. Your mother in a different country worked hard to try, and the government leaned towards these ideas that I just read. This is what it leads to: socialism, and is down the street from communism. And we don't need these ideas because it falsely accuses people just because they're white, they're, privileged, or if they're Christian, they're privileged, or you're disadvantaged. You went out here, sounds like you're very hard worked for what you have earned. And then somebody says, well, Mr. Lee, you're a victim. And you just said you fled you came to America because it's good opportunity here. So why would someone say something the opposite of what their experience is? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So, I don't know if you have more to say about diversity and stuff like that.
Yes, I did serve on the EIB pre-launch committee because I also serve on the Leadership Gwinnett Foundation. So they selected me to represent on the EIB, which is Equitable, Inclusive, and Belonging pre-launch committee. And what we were tasked with is to basically create, recommendations, a set of recommendations for the committee that is working with the DIE concept. And we, even though like there were a mixture of representative from all communities, all parties, and so on and so forth, at the end we were saying that, hey, you know what, if we allow the individual communities and the faith-based organizations become part of that pre-launch or part of that launch committee, so that they can give recommendation for equitable and belonging, then perhaps they'll figure a way where it's going to be fair and that our community, our county is going to be fairly represented. But before we even gave that final recommendation to the county board, or I mean, that the county went ahead and hired a DIE director. So basically, everything that we were trying to do to make sure that our county is well represented was basically brushed aside, and then they just went ahead and hired a DIE director without considering all this effort that we put into it. So I'm very disappointed at that whole process. It wasted a lot of time from like so many different community leaders, business leaders, faith leaders, and so on and so forth. So I don't know.
They put the same thing in the schools. I don't really understand why we need that. We need a there should be a process of rules, and everybody follows laws. Everyone follows, and if someone feels that they're been mistreated, there should be a process to air that grievance out and to work it out. But we don't, because once we get into like quotas and stuff like that, then we start putting people that are not qualified into positions just because they're in. And it's like, what's going to be the motivation for people to strive to be the best? And then over time, the quality will start to dwindle down.
Absolutely. Again,
with those types of practices.
In Vietnam, we have a lot of like privileged leaders that represent that one party, and many of them are not qualified. Many of them don't know what they're doing, but because they belong to a certain party, they were put in position to govern. And that is why it's very difficult for third world country to get out of where they're supposed to be, out where they're at right now. So it's very difficult. As far as America, we have the founding fathers. They created the three branches of government, and there's a check and balance, and everything is based off merits. I truly believe that you have to have merits to be able to serve and to benefit from the luxuries and the opportunities that we currently are enjoying.
Yeah. So can you tell us? Let me see. I had a couple questions here.
I would love to talk about the Gwinnett County new budget, the 2024 budget.
Okay, yeah. Let's talk about that then.
So recently we passed a county budget of $2.53 billion. That's a lot of money. In 2017, our budget was $1.56 billion. So within a period of 5.5 years, we increased our budget 60%, a whole $1 billion. That to me is outrageous. Where do we get the money, for our annual budget? It's mostly from property tax. And then of course you have the services, and then you have the special tax, which is the slots and so on and so forth. But I know that, inflation is a big deal right now. The residents of Gwinnett County is basically spending more to get this grocery, their gas, their home ownership, so on and so forth. So when the county increased the property tax 60%, guess what? They have to, basically the residents have to come out of pockets to pay that property tax. Also like commercial properties, it get passed down. Like for example, if the commercial property owners, when they get taxed, they pass that down to the tenant, and then the tenant pass it down to the consumer. So therefore, everybody pays, and it is already difficult as is with the slowdown of the economy, with the continual increase in property tax and the increase in county budget. I think affordability in Gwinnett County is no longer, something is no longer affordable. So I think we have to look into this and try to control that increase in property tax.
So Tim, I know we have inflation that has happened. What is your belief why the budget is up 1.03 billion from 16? I know cost of living and everything like that goes up, but when we bring in more residents to stimulate the economy, and we don't balance with enough responsible commercial property coming in, then if we have 20 acres worth of regular residential versus 20 acres of commercial, that commercial would not be as much on the infrastructure for a few reasons. The residential area is going to be using a school system. They're going to be the traffic area, so the roads and highways and all of that stuff, the emergency services and public works and all of that go up over time. So when I spoke with the gentleman that's in the economic development, we've been trying to get arranged to get him on here. He said anytime the commercial is less than 60% as opposed to residential, as far as your developed areas, it starts to be a problem for the county over finance wise. This causes the taxes to continue to exponentially increase.
You're absolutely right. The cost of community service is basically 2.5 times more for residential compared to commercial. So for every dollar that the county gets from residential property, the county has to spend $1.11 to provide community services to those residential rooftops. For commercial property, the county collects $1 and only has to spend 45 cents. So if there's going to be growth and development, you're going to have to balance out, the ratio of residential and commercial. Peachtree Corners, I live in Peachtree Corners and we have 0 city tax. The reason is because we have a balance of commercial real estate and residential rooftop.
So what you're saying is when the commercial is happening, we call it growth. I call it irresponsible stimulation, just like getting a credit card. When you bring in more residents and it's gone below that 60 percentile, you're now operating off of a credit card. And when we have planning development in different areas saying, hey, come on, let's get this in here. See, it's a taller hill to climb when you have to fix your school system in order to bolster your property value, because now you getting into what's going to take a lot more time, more effort, and you might have to call a few people on the carpet to get that done. Because what's also centered around bringing businesses is they don't want to come and build a factory into an area where the inflation's high, but the property value is really not gaining any real true value. It's more of a bubble. And see, commercial have more financial analysts that can look at that and say, oh, I don't think I want to go to so-and-so county, because we're taking a look at the long game. We looking at the school system and how is this property that we're going to purchase, how is it going to fare over a long period of time? Is this big tax burden? Is this our tax is going to go up because their residential is so high in this area, and then everything goes up. But it's easier to say, hey, let's bring all these people here and make it look like growth financially when it's really not. It's like a credit card, because like you just outlined to me, I didn't know what the numbers were, but the community service cost of it, when you bring in more residential, is blowing our budget out of the water. And this is exactly why, part of the reason, if not the main reason, that we have this huge budget now.
Absolutely.
And we're not going to, and the people that's watching this, we're not going to fix this by bringing in more people, because Mr. Lee and myself, we just explained to you, this is like getting a credit card. You just keep taking out more credit every time a person lands here, and we not balancing this off with reasonable commercial. We got to do the work at these in all areas of government, every single body, to fix these schools, because that is the Achilles tendon of the problem that we having right now in this county. If you really want to build on something, it's not trying to see how many developments you can get approved. That's just a credit card for the citizens. And we putting the word out now. That's what it is. You writing a credit card for our taxes to keep going up. Now, Peachtree Corners, you said Peachtree Corners, Tim.
Yes.
They got the blueprint, right? Just like we talked about earlier, Mayor Crist, they're moving in a good positive direction to make sure they're doing responsible building, right? But we got to deal with this school problem. Yes. We got to deal with it. If we don't fix this school, hey, the credit card, in a couple of years, this going to turn into $3.2 billion.
Well,
because of the direction we moving in.
The school budget is going to be around $3.2 billion in 2024. So it's huge. That's in addition to the $2.53 billion. And majority of that is from property tax. So, and then also I had a question. I went out, I spoke to a whole bunch of people, and they were telling me that, hey, what is going on with Gwinnett School? How come, like Simpson Elementary School used to be at 10, now it's down to an 8? How come, Norcross High was at an 8, now it's down to a 6? Like pretty much all the public, Gwinnett Public School has kind of like lost like a point to 2 points or even more over the past few years. And I'm like, well, it goes back to that growth, that high density growth where, like the school are overburdened, with so much more students. And it is trying to educate more students with the limited budget that it has. And hence, it's increasing its budget. So again, it's responsible growth. If we don't have the resources, we can't just allow this massive growth where everything is being strained. Now the hospital system, that is
hold on before
area.
You go to that hospital, yeah. Tim. So I agree with part of that. The problem with this is the leadership that we got in these different positions at the school board, because me and my wife have seen this one lady. I think she got about 10 kids or whatever. Then all those kids are very well behaved. Her situation, her ship runs like a well-oiled machine. And I know we need money for baseline things, but this is not really a money problem. Then you can see somebody, and everybody has seen them. You're in the grocery store, somebody got 2 kids or 1 kid and can't control that kid. And it don't have nothing to do with money, but it will affect the money. And the problem with this is we got feckless leadership, and I'll say it for the people who can't, in this county, who are afraid to do the right thing, or they're subscribing to this DEI nonsense, poisoning the mind of these children, creating terrible spaces for their colleagues who may not be the same race they are, but they subscribe to this whole thing of nonsense. At Alabama, I'm going to relate this to football because everybody know I'm a football guy. Alabama's coach, he retired or whatever. But do you think he had the success that he had worrying about what the color of his players were? Totally irrelevant. You come up here on a merit-based thing, you do the right thing, you don't go to class, you won't play. We're going to have disciplinary actions for you. If in the military or any successful thing that you're going to do, if your discipline is not right, you can cancel Christmas at that point because nothing else is going to happen. The problem we have in Gwinnett County, and I'll go back to it again, It's the leadership in these schools. These children are very smart, and many of us, a lot of, not just minority kids, Tim, but a lot of us did not grow up with that silver spoon. My pastor did not. Lost his dad at an early age. Raised by his mom, he and his brother. And they grew up, I believe, in maybe a 1,200 square foot house or something like that. Somebody gave them a car, but they worked with what they had. Both of these gentlemen went on to be leaders of Fortune 500 companies. You can look it up. They led Service Master, and the other one was S.E. Johnson Wax. And one of the companies didn't even want him to resign. He wanted to come back here to Georgia to be at the church or whatever we're at right now. But they tried to sue him and ruin his life. That's how good he was. Nobody gave them nothing. Their mother taught them discipline and put the word of God before them. That's what it takes. And unless we deal with this discipline problem in these schools, Tim, you're going to see these budgets and stuff explode in this county. And this is not about throwing money at a problem, because I can take you a situation to where someone who doesn't have as much, and because they have humility and respect, they are always going to go further than the other person who doesn't. Always.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And yes,
I totally
we need
agree
money
with
to
that.
do things, Tim.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that. But we got to deal with this issue with this school system and get some real numbers up, get some real standards for these children. And everybody don't need to go to college. We got to start promoting that idea to them. Mm-hmm. If we had the trades and stuff available for these kids to where they don't have to, that where it's more available at each high school, these kids could graduate, Tim. All of them don't need to go off to college. There's plenty of money in the trades. They can work for a company here. They can start their own business. They buy a house right here in the county and start paying into the tax thing, and we keep our money here. But it's quite a few things that we got to work on to get this.
Absolutely.
Get this thing right.
I think like throughout the 80 and the 90, the school system were pushing, towards a 4-year degree. And now, we're missing a lot of the specialized trade workers. I think the TCSG, the Georgia TCSG system is amazing. Melvin Everson, he is the VP of Economic Development over at Gwinnett Tech. He's doing an amazing job there. I have a commissioner, Hokan. He went to a technical school, and he is a businessman and a very successful one at that. And now the commissioner of District Number 4. So that just proved your point. I believe, like, for example, if there's a technical skills that I want to just go into, I would love to be a sound engineer, because I love that stuff. And, not everybody can do that. And to me, I wish I still can go and take a course on how to, work all those buttons that you have on your mixer there. Yeah, and to provide good quality sounds. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So trades, discipline, and standards for the kids as far as the school system. Now with the building, we'll move to that, and we'll wrap it up, and we'll have you back on too anytime. So with all of the construction, I think we kind of talked through a little bit of that. What needs to happen? I know there's laws in everything. Should we be coming up with a model like they're doing over with Mayor Crist over in Lilburn? They're working with a consulting company who's going to provide them a model of the impacts of density, as well as making sure that the character matches. And I know they have, like in my city, they got the comprehensive plan. But I'd like to dig in to see how much impact on schools and everything else around that. Would you be for an idea like that, to where the models can be produced in a layman form, and present it for the public. Because I don't think a lot of people understand that residential and commercial thing that we talked about of how it's like a credit card when you get below that 60 percentile mark. And I think people will be interested in that, and also understanding where their representatives on the commission and city council, what their thoughts of continuing to build so densely, knowing that a lot of the cities in the county are over that line. So basically you get more credit each time this goes out, and then the taxes go up. What would your thought be on having a model done so that
Yes.
and being able to have it presented in lay terms, so that, because people don't understand this stuff, and that's why we have the show, because we'll bring
Yes.
people on like you to explain it.
Yes, I think that is a very good suggestion. Throughout the county, the state, we do many studies, like the 2050 Unified Plan. And then we have many LCI, which is Living Center initiatives that's done, basically in every city, in every CIDs and so on and so forth. And the thing is, like we have these consulting companies that are facilitating that are consulting and then putting together those studies. And they reach out to the community and to get the ideas and inputs and so on and so forth. What we need to do is make sure that those consultant company has to follow a certain guideline where commercial and residential development or redevelopment has to be balanced.
Yeah.
Those companies are being paid basically by Atlanta Region Commission, or the county, the CID, whatsoever. They've been paid. We need to let them know that, hey, they need to focus, they need to pay attention to the point that you're trying to make, and that is a balanced growth, balanced redevelopment, balanced planning, so that in the long run, we're not going to have like a lopsided
Exactly.
community. So I appreciate that that question, because
So
I
each
think
each project should be put on the scale against that 60%. And then
Yep.
if you going so far, it need to be put out, it need to be posted. The public need to be notified, hey, your taxes is going up, because we in credit card land at this point. So all these developers coming in here with their sticks pointing at the board, like I see it in the county meetings I watch. These people are, and I got a lot of respect for builders who do their thing, but at the same time, a lot of them just throwing up anything. They just like a typical. I had somebody tell me, hey, I'm gonna put as many houses on this thing I can get, and hey, it's fair game, because they're operating inside of the letter of the law. But we need to use our resources to make sure that we push for that balance that you're talking about, because that's not their job. Their job is to come in and build and get every dollar they can get.
absolutely.
People like yourself, some of the council and mayor, that's their responsibility to make try to get a better decision made for buildings and things that are going in, so that we don't go too far below that 60 percentile. It'll be nice not to be having a tax like they got down in Peachtree Corners.
Yeah.
Man, that's
Well,
outstanding.
can I add something? I'm currently serving as the chairman of the Peachtree Corners Downtown Development Authority. And right now we are tackling the tech park in Peachtree Corners. That Peachtree Corners Tech Park is the first tech park basically in Metro Atlanta. And in the 70s and the 80s, that's where you have a whole bunch of technologies that we're currently using coming out of Tech Park, like the Ethernet card, the wireless, features that we have with the internet. They were like developed in that area. But over the years, Alpharetta, they built their own tech park. They're taking a lot of these companies away from Peachtree Corners Tech Park. So right now, as Downtown Development Authority, we're trying to repopulate that area with high quality companies like Intuitive, where they're putting in like $500 million of development there, and they're building out like this massive campus where they're paying, $135,000 to $150,000 average for a job. And then we have all these doctors from all over the world coming there to spend the money there at the local hotels and restaurants, and then also paying a lot of money to Intuitive to learn how to use those robots to do medical surgeries. So we're looking to bring more companies like that to Peachtree Corners Tech Park.
Mhm.
And that's our, I know a lot of people, they're like, oh, traffic and everything, but no, these are commercial developments or redevelopments. So they're hiring people, the local people around there. They're stimulating the economy around there without putting the burden on the county as far as taxations and so on and so forth. So I just want to share that with you.
Okay, you guys are in a good position because of the work that you've done to keep that commercial situation up. Well, Tim, is anything else you want to share with the audience? It's been great having you on here today.
Yes, another thing that I want to do is to help the small businesses. You, myself, we're all small businesses. And the definition of small businesses is anything under like 50 employees or so. So we are the bloodline of this economy, the country's economy. So we have to help them. We have to deregulate and have a business-friendly environment so that small businesses can thrive, can do well in our community. So I'm an advocate for that. And I hope that, once elected, I can team up with Matthew Holcamp and some of the other commissioners to champion small business development and to help them get their footing in place so that they can thrive. Yeah.
Well, that sounds great. Can you tell the people your website, how to follow you, or how they can make a contribution to your campaign and everything
Yes,
like that?
sir. Behind me, we have Tim Lee for Gwinnett Commission .com. So if you can go into that website, you can donate through that website. I had my first fundraiser on December 7th. I did really well. It is disclosed on the Gwinnett Easy Campaign website. And I'm going to have another one on the 25th with 3 other candidates at the 1818 Club, the 25th from 5 to 6:30. And then I'm going to have a virtual fundraiser, and that's going to be across the country, and that's going to be a fun one because, as public servants, we have to build that network, not only locally but at the state level and then nationally, so that we are aware of what is going on. And sometimes when we need a little bit of help, they can help me out. So appreciate it.
That's right. All right. Well, we appreciate it, and just stand by for a minute, and we'll get you out of here. All right, guys. So that was Tim Lee running for Gwinnett County Commissioner. If this is your first time, again, you'll hear me announce this several times. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our podcast. We focus on what we believe is some of the key 5 pillars of society. That's your county commission, city council, school board, sheriff's office, and district attorney. So we have to make sure we seize these levers of power and make sure that law and order is always maintained. This diversity talk is pretty despicable. All the work our founders did and people that led different movements that made sacrifices in this country, it's like a slap in the face for us to come back to this point. It might not be a perfect country, but I'll say it again. It's the best that we've got right now. So we all should be fighting to do the right thing and call out hypocrisy and support people who are trying to move in a good direction. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And Luke 1:37 says, "For with God, nothing shall be impossible."
War Room, Gwinnett County. The people's voice, keeping you informed. War Room, Gwinnett County. The people's voice.